to risk it all and go all in on myself and build something, I had to completely destroy my life at 39 years old to drugs and alcohol. I was amazing in business, 21 years in the auto industry, made a lot of money, had the house, the cars, the boats, this lifestyle that everybody thinks that they want. I thought that I was built differently. Then my son gets sick and goes into heart surgery. I didn't know how to handle that pressure. And then next thing you know, 6.5 years of my life went by. 8 months into my sobriety, I find this guy online, 400 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you, Lord. This is it. Quit my job, packed my house, and we went on a 5-year tear together.
On this show, you'll meet people who have gone from 6 figures in a year to 6 figures in a month, in a day, in an hour, and even a minute. You'll hear their story, the strategies that worked, the insights that changed everything, and the lessons they learned along the way.
This is the Six Fig Podcast.
Shawn Pollard, thanks so much for being here on the Six Fig Podcast. You've had an amazing career as an entrepreneur, massive success, hitting rock bottom. I'm excited to dive into all of it here today. You had massive success in the car business for a couple of decades. You've also played a critical role behind some of the most iconic personal brands in the marketplace today, Andy Elliott, Jeremy Minor, and you have direct experience building massive amount of personal wealth in the car business, and then also seeing behind the scenes of what it takes, playing a critical role of what it takes to build a massive 8-figure business. So you've done it yourself. You've had perspective of doing it with business partners. And I'm so excited to pull out all of the wealth and knowledge and wisdom that you have over a few decades of entrepreneurship here for everyone listening in. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm jacked up. I love the fact that we're here talking about when you explain to me what it is that you want to accomplish with Six Fig and the things you're looking to do, it makes sense completely to me.
Yeah.
And that's real and it's truthful. And then the fact that we get to talk about brand, I think we'll talk about brand a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever asked somebody to define to me brand?
I define it all the time, but I'm interested in your...
You do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You do.
yeah.
But have you ever asked somebody, I want to build a brand? Great. Define it.
Oh, yeah. I always say if you ask 10 people, you get 10 different answers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
So, yeah. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
To dig in with you for sure.
And today you are the founder of a men's movement, Monster and Men. So I'm so excited to, go through the progression of your entrepreneurial journey, the iconic 6-figure milestones that you hit along the way, and then also really anchor in the really deep, meaningful work you're doing today, helping men become leaders, leading their households, leading themselves, leading their communities. That's so critically important. And I know that it's been a path of your own journey and to get to where you're at today. You have a beautiful marriage, 28 years marriage, if I remember correctly. And so really excited to also help people know how to not just build a successful business, because that's really easy. You just go all in. But how do you create a beautiful life? How do you create a beautiful marriage along the way? So lots to unpack here, just kind of setting the table for everything that we're going to be talking about here today. Yeah. But let's go back to, how did you get started in entrepreneurship? Did you come from an entrepreneurial family? I know that you had massive success in the car business. How did you get involved in that? And let's kind of go back to those early innings of entrepreneurial experiences that you had that were the early sparks and the catalyst to what you're doing today.
I really appreciate that. How did I get started in entrepreneurship it's a tricky question, because sometimes I don't even identify as an entrepreneur yet. I'm the entrepreneur, the number 2. I used to laugh and walk around and tell everybody I make more money than owners, and you can as a number 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the industry. I think Patrick David said it best. He goes, I made more money as a 2 through 5 than I did until I sold my company. And I wore that with a badge of honor. That was like an identity that I had. The auto industry taught me entrepreneurship because I was responsible for everything. Once I got into management, responsible for everything. The dealer flooring, which is how much money you have on the cars that are on the lot, the loans basically on the car, that flooring, there were curtailments that you had to pay penalties on if you aren't flipping cars. And you were responsible for everything, but yet you didn't get to take home everything, right? You were responsible for everything, but you responded to that owner. I think that's the best business experience I could have ever asked for. 21 years doing that in the auto industry. And to get into the entrepreneur where I decided to risk it all and go all in on myself and build something, I had to completely destroy my life at 39 years old.
Wow. To
drugs and alcohol, which came later. I wasn't doing those things for years. And I had something come up with the health of my son that crumbled me from, I think, something that I was holding on to from my past at 2018 or when I was in 1998.
Yeah,
I had a friend that was murdered.
Yeah,
And then,
let's dive into that. I mean, like
Okay.
you have massive success in the car business, general manager, making tons of money,
Yeah.
having lots of success, and then your personal life starts to fall apart with the health of your son. Which how does that change everything? And it was a spark that really catapulted you into hitting rock bottom. And what was that like? And what was that experience? And how did that all happen?
My son was 10 years old. There was a birth defect that he had in his heart. It was a heart condition. He had a double aortic artery, which we didn't catch. And he had a double aortic arch, and his aortic artery was on the wrong side of the heart. That should have been caught, and when he was born or the early years, but it wasn't. So it developed and it grew. So the arch wrapped around his throat, ended up cutting off his esophagus. Blood flow was not pumping properly throughout his body. And he was wrestling. We were a wrestling family. Grew up wrestling my whole life. My son was a wrestler, and he was choking out on mats. He couldn't breathe. And one match, he just turns purple and literally passed out. Rushed to the hospital. They caught it immediately, and then we're in surgery within a day.
Wow!
And that was his first heart surgery. So it just hit. It hit hard. So there was no preparing for it. There was no, hey, these are some of the things that we need to look into. It was. This happened, and it wasn't a day. It was probably maybe 5 days. But next thing you know, you're in surgery, and your son's healthy, and everything's up in arms. Your kid's in open heart surgery. It went nuts, and I didn't know how to handle that pressure. And I didn't know that because I thought that I was built differently from something that happened to me in my past. When 1998, my best friend was murdered, I thought I had fixed that. I thought I had become stronger. I was amazing in business. I ran great numbers, built great culture in the dealership. But when personal tragedy struck again, I crumbled. I slowly crumbled. And then next thing you know, 6.5 years of my life went by.
Wow.
Yeah. To drugs and alcohol. And lost everything. So, yeah.
Tell us more. Tell us more about that. Most of the time on Instagram and on podcasts, everyone's talking about the highlight reel and the Lambos in the garage and the mansions and the watches and the jewelry. Like, no one talks about those times where you built something meaningful. Like, you had a great life. You were making a ton of money in the car business. You have a beautiful family. You're married, and then all of a sudden this hits, and it throws you into the abyss of what was that season of life, that 6 years of going through that? Tell us more about that season, and then how you built back better.
When it happened, it was a flashback, like you ever look through a Rolodex, the old school Rolodex? Some of you might not know what a Rolodex is, but they have names and numbers. You used to flip through them, and you could just see, and they would trickle and be like, brrr. It was like a Rolodex in my head of memories and pictures when my son was in surgery. And it brought back my buddy dying in 1998. He was murdered by gang members. It was a home invasion. They came in, they kicked the door in, they shot and killed my friend. They missed me, and my buddy Riley, he died in my arms in 1998. And so there was a period of time there too where I was really dark. And I was 18 years old with my wife now, my girlfriend then. We already had a son. And for 4 years, it was really, really tough on me. But I had a good system. I had great people around me, and I was able to will myself, battle through it, get some help. But I didn't address the issue. I had submersed it into, like what they say, my subconscious, and buried it so I can continue going. I then put on a good run, became a general manager, made a lot of money, had the house, the cars, the boats, this lifestyle that everybody thinks that they want. And I say think that they want because be careful what you ask for when you get it. It was the worst time of my life when I had everything that I thought that I wanted. It wasn't planned around what my heart and soul. It was planned around everybody else around me and what I thought would make me fit into that circle I was around. So we build this. My wife and I are having a beautiful relationship. Then my son gets sick and goes into heart surgery. And I remember it clear as day, like it was yesterday, this Rolodex of memories of Riley dying and what I went through, them coming into the home, shooting up the house. And then it tied into my son. My son's going to die. And then the nightmares and all these things started happening in a wave that I almost couldn't comprehend. To where I almost, like, if I ever thought that I shouldn't be on this earth, it was around that time. But it was devastating. It was numbing. I would go to work and I would be looking around like what's going on here? I don't have control. Like who's coming through that door? And it was just really, really freaking weird, man. And somebody came up to me like, bro, you look like shit. You're off your rails right now. I know your son's going through some things. Here's a little blue pill. This will help you take the edge off and you'll be good. Now, bear in mind, I'm running a flagship store. This is a BMW dealership in Sacramento, California. There is no room for error. There is no room for how my body is literally cracking and crumbling. You can't, they won't keep you around. And I took that pill and within 30 minutes, I was back and better than ever. I told myself, I felt like Superman. I felt unstoppable. And that was the beginning of the end for that 6-year period of time. I spent a lot of money in pills, increased drinking, distanced myself from my wife, numbed myself, but all the while on the front, on the face and surface level, everybody sees a rock star until the health starts catching up with you. Sunken in eyes 4 years later. My wife had no clue, burned through almost $700,000 of savings buying this shit.
Wow.
And it all caught up to me, man. My wife left me in 2019.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now you've been married for 28 years. There's a redemption story here.
Yes.
I mean, first and foremost, I can't imagine, going through all of that. And then, thank you for your transparency too, of just like, that period, the financial cost of it, everything. Yeah. Like that's an incredible story. So yeah, let's how did you win your wife back, and what was that rock bottom moment when you knew that you needed to change? Was it your wife leaving, and then how did you win her back, and then how did you rebuild from that rock bottom of the financial outlay of going through your savings, and tell us what this next season of life was about.
It's hard, man. I remember in 2019, it was July. June was the month that I had done the unthinkable. I got high and I almost ruined my best friend's wedding. I was the best man and I had to, give the toast the next day, and I'm high. I mean, completely coked out the next day and exhausted and looked like shit. And he couldn't believe it. He was like, I can't fucking believe you did this, man. Of all the days, like, brother, and just, he lost his mind. And so I just remember looking back on that and giving that speech, looking like shit, feeling like crap. I can barely put my words together. And we get home and he goes, I never want to talk to you again. And then the next day, my wife's walking out of the house. She's done. And she knew about my addiction for about the last year and a half at that time. She caught on to it. 4 years in, she knew about it for 2 years out of the 6.
Mm-hmm.
She's been working with me. No one wants to change. No one will change until they decide to change. Just, that's why I love working with men and working with them through that process. And I remember as she's walking out of the door, bear in mind, I'm still making $300,000 a year as a drug addict, and I'm drinking. Oh, and I pick up gambling. Real smart.
And that's $300 in the dealership in personal income, not like top line revenue. That's one thing that I also like to differentiate on the podcast too. Is everyone's talking top line, like take home, no risk. You're running the business. Income, that's solid.
At a different dealership, even because the BMW, I threw that down the drain. Got fired, and she's leaving, and I slammed the door in her face, and I said, "Where are you going?" I said, "What do you want from me?" And my wife turned around with the fierceness I had never seen in her. And I swear she was going to hit me, man. And she goes, I want you to be the fucking man. And walked out. I was like, yeah, whatever. The next day, I woke up and started drinking. And I went on a 4-day bender. I woke up from that and I looked in the mirror and I said, never again. It was instantaneous. Never again. The trauma, whatever it was, I am done. And it took 35 days to kind of clean up or get over the detox of what was in my body. I made a massive mistake and did it by myself. It was horrendous. And woke up on the 35th, 36th day, looking in the mirror, not recognizing anything about me. I broke down and cried, and I prayed to God for the first time in a long time. And I said, please help. I surrender. I give in. I am yours. I'll do whatever it takes. And I went on a tear. I went on a run. I got clean and sober, got back into the gym. All the while, my wife's like, see how long this lasts. And she wasn't buying in, man. And that was hard, but I had to go and prove it, right? She didn't want her heart broken again. I promised her. I got her back. I promise. One more time. One more time. She's heard those words, man. She goes, one more time. I was like, please, baby, one more time. I see the light. I've asked God for help. I'm doing these things. One more opportunity. I promise you, I will not fail you. I will not let you down. She came home. My journey began. Gym, eating, no drinking, no drugs, clean and sober. Didn't go to AA, didn't go to rehab. I know a lot of people need to, and maybe I should have. I don't know, because there was a lot that I had to go through for myself, but I was done. I just ruined myself, ruined my marriage, ruined my best friend's wedding pretty much, outside of causing a physical altercation. I was done, man. I was done. And I went on a run. And then 8 months into my sobriety, I find this guy online doing sales training for automotive only. And I was like, this is perfect. And this guy's really good. I like what I'm seeing here. So I decided to reach out. No Instagram, no Facebook, 400 subscribers on YouTube. And he is really good. And I know, I was like, dude, I can help this guy. I can help this guy do what needs to be done to get his sales training off the ground. Thank you, Lord. This is it. And that's like how I felt. I remember it. And reached out, started a conversation, and we went from there, man. We went from there and started working together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So again, just to highlight and recap, I mean, you're on top of the world, you're making all the money, you kind of have like the Icarus factor of just like flying high close to the sun. And there's still something, missing. And it really took, hitting rock bottom of your best friend, your wife, like being the wake up call in your life and making that decision. I mean, I know that your story personally resonates with me. My younger brother also, had a season of his life with substance abuse, and he went cold turkey on his own. And I know how strong of a character is required in order to navigate those waters alone. And so it's a testament to your strength, your fortitude. And I agree. It's like when someone's done, they're done, and they have to make that personal decision. So thank you for your transparency and honesty about that season of your life.
It's the only way it works, man, for other men to know they're not alone. You're not alone, brother. And weakness is not bearing the load by yourself. That is not weak. Yep. I was trained that way. I was raised that way by my grandfather and my father. You're a man, bear the load. No. If you can reach out to somebody and they can serve you, help you get better so you can serve others, that is not weakness. That is a strength, because it collapses the time. It removes friction so you can get to the top. Then you get to the top faster or start to rise. And I did it alone. And then when I found this guy on YouTube, I'm sure if we want to talk about that.
Let's jump into that.
I found him on YouTube, and I was like, dude, I can help this guy. I know exactly what he needed.
How did you know that you could help this guy? And who, if you're comfortable saying it, who was he at that, who is it?
Oh, sales trainers, Andy Elliott.
Andy Elliott, cool.
Yeah, he's on YouTube. And because I was a guy that was into funnels and ad copy and generating leads, like I was the first person, I believe, I can't verify this, but I'm pretty sure in 2019, I was the first person to run automotive ads for car dealerships in the country. No one had ever done that. And so I had this knack to see, what's the next level. And the auto industry is about 10 years behind what's actually happening in current market when it comes to marketing. So I started running automotive ads. Everybody mocked me, laughed at me. I crushed it, killed it, and then continued to do so. The next thing you know, my competitors are coming in. Next thing you know, the AG reach out. The attorney general reaches out to me personally, or his staff to me personally. We need to talk. These aren't compliant. What does that mean? No one's doing this. I'm compliant to the newspaper ads. I do the same things that make a newspaper ad compliant, but it's not compliant digitally. So I went through that whole process, kept running ads, got it cleared up. And we were rolling. So I knew how to generate leads. I was building the funnels, doing a lot of cool things. Met Russell Brunson and not meet him, but went into his program in 2014 or 15. And he had none of that. And I knew exactly, learning from Russell, what happened in the car business. Dude, I can help this guy.
Yeah.
Like I can dial it in. And the story that right there is wild, man. I mean, it's a wild story. So I reach out to him, again, 400 YouTube subscribers at the time, no Instagram, no Facebook. He picks up the phone and sells me a product, sells me come out to the seminar that I'm having and let's get it done. And COVID shuts it down. Going into COVID, shuts it down. Call him, I was, hey, what's up, man? What are we going to do? I need training. I need you to help me become a better general manager. Pay a little bit more, come out to my house. You and I will work. We'll work one-on-one. I'm like, dude, this is weird. Are you sure? I tell my wife this. She goes, Shawn, you're 8 months sober, and you're telling me you're going to go to Oklahoma to meet somebody you don't know so he can train you on how to become a better general manager? Like, no. You're going to, I was like, babe, I'm going. It's here. I feel it. This is the move. I am going. Fly out on a Friday, leaving on a Sunday. Call my wife Sunday, said I'm not coming home. We are building something. This guy has a sales training company. Had nothing. We're in a garage. And he has a sales training company. And we're going this. And this is what we're going to do, babe. And it's going to be crazy. I left her in California for 51 days. Quit my job. Stayed in Oklahoma for 51 days. Moved back to California. Packed my house. Walked in to my wife and said, we're moving. She goes, we need to talk about this. I said, we just did. U-Haul will be here tomorrow. You either get in the truck or you and the kids can stay. I'm going to Oklahoma and we're going to build a company. It's already crushing it. He's doing well. Everything's perfect. This is a great thing for us. I got a house rented right next door to him. Like everything was lining up, man. And we moved.
Wow.
We moved and we went on a five-year tear together. And that man helped me see a lot of great things that I was missing in my life on who I could become and what I am possible of. And he was hard on me and he got my body in shape, helped me get my mind in shape. And that's when I knew you can't do this alone. You need a brotherhood. You need people. And him and his wife are real good to me, took care of me and helped me see what it was that I needed to be doing. And then when you're a part of that vision and you're a part of that build, you now know what's possible. Once you know it's possible, you can't unsee that. Now you have a choice. Do I go back to my old life? Do I let myself get sedated again? Do I pull off the gas? Or, that's your call. You have a choice because now I'm at a point in my life where I realize for certain, everything is my responsibility.
Yep.
Subconsciously, I'm starting to feel different. Consciously, I'm showing up at a level I had never shown up for, not even in the car dealerships when I was in my prime. A whole new monster. That's where that whole thing came up from. Whole new monster starting to show up every day in business and day by day, hour by hour. I mean, day by day and night by night, crying myself to sleep when I was living with him for 50 days. Like, what the hell am I doing this for? Selling a $39 course, taking a percentage of $39 in the height of COVID. It was brutal, brother. It was brutal. Stuck to it, built it. Next thing you know, we relocate to Arizona and then we just kept gradually growing and scaling and we built the culture. I had some rules on who I would hire and how the hiring process was. And we were out to build a cult of cultured men in a good way, of cultured men that believed the way that we believed. And it took off.
That's incredible. Yeah. I
It
mean,
was ruthless, though.
Just knowing the timelines of what you built, the timelines, it's, you built a multi-8-figure business in record time. What was that season like going from 400 subscribers on YouTube to moving to Oklahoma, those 50 plus days of laying the foundation, the vision, what you're building together, getting the pieces aligned so that you guys could execute against it, to building that to multi-8 figures. Tell us about that season. What levers you pulled to make some of those things happen. Maybe some things that other people listening in could emulate. And then also what's the dark side of building big and building fast.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that I'm most grateful for is just perspective too. It's like with anything, there are a long list of pros and there's a list of cons. Anything there's nothing that's just all upside benefit with no downside. So tell us about that season of going from 400 subscribers to multi-8-figure business and the lessons that you learn along the way of that, and also the dark side of an 8-figure business.
I want to start with, it does not happen overnight. Okay. And anybody that I've met who gets that overnight success, I'm talking millions, maybe $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in the first 6 months to a year. I don't know any of them that have kept it and didn't have to completely rebuild. I don't know. And I know I've worked with a lot of people. Have you seen it?
No. Yeah. There are a lot of people that have flash in the pan success.
Boom, yeah.
Easy money made, easy money spent. They're usually reinvesting those profits back into trying to scale their business on a very faulty or sandy foundation. And growth in a business is not always up and to the right. And so I completely agree with what you're saying.
So we knew that. And I made one deciding factor in Oklahoma that was a very good move for me is I didn't need to be in competition with him as sales trainer or sales trainer number 2. And I made that very decisive decision one night. And I said, I'm going to be his integrator. When I figured out what that was, I didn't know what that was until I moved to Oklahoma. And now I'm studying every night, all night. You build revenue during the day, you build at night, you build the company at night. And that's what we did. And I said, okay, I am going to completely spin off from him. And I am going to go down and into this company and build the CRMs and build the workflows and all these things that I was building there. And he's the ultimate showman, right? He's all over the country. He's knocking down dealerships' doors, getting into dealers. And I'm at home selling all day long, right? While he's traveling the country, getting his ass kicked out of stores every day. And that was very inspiring. And then I had another challenge to where I have to challenge myself to where he's not always the motivator. He's not always the driver on me. I'm going to take his soul by doing things that he doesn't do to keep him competitive and keep him going. And that's what I told myself. I believe it worked. I started running every day, 5 miles in the Oklahoma heat and that humidity. Next thing you know, my mile times are 6 minute and 50-second miles at 5 miles for 5 mile pace. Then I would do 10 miles every Sunday. And I started just getting this ridiculous momentum going while he's doing it and his wife's doing it. And then my wife moves to Oklahoma and she's standing on the sidelines going, whatever. And she's just sitting there, man, while we're building this thing, right? And so finally, after about 8 months, I had a talk, actually for a little longer. I had a talk with her. I pulled her aside and I said, listen, this is a rocket ship. I know I lied to you. And I said I was moving to Oklahoma with an established company. I know I've done things in the past. It was a year and 8 months after sobriety. I pulled her aside and I told her, if you do not change and come on this journey with me, I'm going to leave you. And you're going to be left with whoever you want, whatever you want. And then another woman's going to come into my life that doesn't know all the bad. She doesn't know all the bullshit. And you're not going to get to enjoy what you helped build because you are scared of getting your heart broken again by me relapsing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And the next day she was in the gym.
Wow. And
the next day she started getting closer to the build and then closer with Andy and Jacqueline. And we just started really just compounding this relationship. And it's funny, sometimes I'll go back through my Instagram and go back to where I first posted with Andy and I go through the transformation. And I don't do it to like, just look at the past, but you have to show people that's what's possible in 3 years. That's what's possible in 4 and 5. And that's what's you're capable of doing when you stay in the right frame. You stay in the max energy. You do not let anything sidetrack you. You do not get derailed. And when you do, you focus on getting centered again as fast as possible and you don't destroy your momentum. And that was huge for us. But we had a circle of people. Mm-hmm. We had people that we could rely on. And Andy is just unforgivingly relentless. And so he doesn't have bad days. Whatever he's has going on in his personal life, which I got to see it all. He never complained. There was no negativity. It was energy. It was driver mentality. It was culture building. It was getting these men to believe in themselves, taking car salesmen and getting them to rewire what they thought a car salesman was and make them think like an operator. And it worked. It worked at a really high level. And we built this massive movement of automotive men and women before we ventured out into other spaces.
Wow. There's so much value in everything that you just explained. And yes, I agree.
The hardest thing I've ever done. I think I missed part of your question. I apologize.
No, well,
ruthlessly hard.
Yeah. Yeah. What were some key inflection points on that path to going from the initial traction? I mean, there's a couple things. There's the business lessons, there's the personal lessons, there's a pivotal moment, a pivotal conversation with your wife. Obviously, there's a season there probably, leading up to that conversation and a little bit after that of rebuilding trust. I want to get into the marriage conversation as well. That is a critical aspect of the energy, the message I want to bring into the forefront of entrepreneurship in general. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that are hustle, gritting, and grinding, and they're going through marriages. They're on their second, third, fourth, fifth marriage, or they're choosing not to have children. And I don't know that that's necessarily the purpose of life is just to build a business for the sake of making money and material possessions. And there's a lot of people that, to what you're describing as well. It's like there's something so meaningful about building and being through all of the seasons of life with your partner and your spouse and being on the same page and on board. And so I want to wrap up the conversation on the business lessons during that period of time of rapid growth and really condensing timelines and building something big and meaningful in just 3 or 4 years, and also the personal and relational lessons along the way. So along that fast growth period, again, you had a couple of decades of experience in the car business, CRMs, automation, risk mitigation, technology. You got introduced to Russell Brunson. You're applying those techniques, strategies in the car business, adapting them to fit your industry. And so you had a lot of skills, knowledge, and expertise that you recognized Andy. You recognized the talent. You're like, this guy's got the sauce. Like I can rally behind him. And in a very short period of time, you're able to bring your skill sets and create something meaningful. What were some of those key things that you did in those first 50 days to lay the foundation, maybe in the first year or whatnot, that allowed for what you built to be possible?
I lost the weight, and that was huge for me. And I learned how to speak differently. I started studying phrases and words and how Tony Robbins would speak. He can move you with his words. I had to be able to speak different to insert into somebody what it meant to gain control and hope. Those two were pivotal. I remember having multiple conversations with Andy. We have to change the way we speak. We have to change the way that we speak. We have to change our language. If we can't change our language, we're still going to sound like everybody else. And if we cannot bring the way we speak, our language, and make it so almost iconic that people just want to hear more and want to be around us, then it won't work. And then if we can do that, but our bodies aren't built, we're almost like everybody else. So we had this thing where we shifted the way that we spoke, learned a new language, learned words, we're learning phrases that really lit the fire under somebody and let them know that we cared and inspired hope while working on our external, our bodies. Those two were very critical for me because I was even as a dealer, as a GM, I was a behind the scenes guy. I was the guy that could work from behind a desk and see everything on the layout with the spreadsheets, what's happening in my PMA, and really dial that in. I wasn't the ultimate salesman. I wasn't like always the best salesperson, but I'm an operator. That's how my brain works, right? And when we learn to speak differently, and then you watch, Andy's transformation with his language, it really inspired men to change, and it sunk in real quick. And then we built the movement of men and the culture. We created this really, really loud vision of what you become running with us. If you're with us, this is what you become. And we talked about it all the time on all the meetings, on everything that we did. And we forced belief into other men. And then we got their wives to come on board. And then they started showing up to live seminars. I think those two things were changing the way that I spoke, and then working on my body were absolutely paramount to being not only a competent and confident leader, but one that people could look at and go, okay, he's living the very thing that he preaches. And that was, I think, critical for what we were looking to build, what we were building.
Yes.
And then showing up every day and taking care of our clients. Awesome. We were relentless with our people when we got them. I mean, if you didn't buy, you were being reached out to. You were given value. We were doing things that now are very normal. Back then, they weren't. The amount of value and free that we put into the marketplace held people accountable. Anybody I didn't sell, I said, hey, when I get off this phone, I'm going to send you 6 videos. When you watch these 6 videos, I need you to write 1 paragraph of what you think and text it back to me. Everybody, and probably 5 out of 10 would do that. Those would be my 5 that I'd focus on. I'd just build my list like that of people that I would sell to in the future, because that's an action taker. But you never got off the phone with me or Andy at that moment in time without getting something massive in value in return and being asked to reach back out to me on my personal cell phone. And we're going to go from there. You get that done, we'll go from here. Because at that time, some people didn't have money. And they literally didn't have any money. But they weren't going to go away without getting something. And so between working on my body, changing the way that I spoke, and how I made people feel, they never left us. And then we created a group for them all to congregate in, and went wild with the seminars that we were doing every single month. We did a seminar every single month from the month I started, the first one, till, 50 to 61 later in a row, and then added more throughout the country. And so, showing up.
I love it. I love it. I think one thing that I took from what you said as well is just, yes, you sold sales training as the product, but you're really selling them on a bigger vision for themselves and providing the opportunity, the mentorship, the guidance, the community for them to step into it. And you made it easy for them to opt into it. So that's super powerful and something that we could do a whole podcast episode just on like pulling that apart.
We sold the sexy.
Yes.
We sold the money. You want more money? You want to change your life? You need more money. We sold the sexy, which was the money. That got them in. Once you got in and we got our hands onto you and we literally wrapped you up, we told you what you were getting a part of. I don't like to say this, but I'm going to say it was like we brainwashed you into what you are going to believe and who you are going to become. We got our claws in you and we put you into a group. And I showed up every damn day for 2 years straight at 7 p.m. on a Zoom call with these people for free. And just bam, bam. And Andy showed up every Monday and Thursday at that point. This is the first year, 2 years of the company. And that's how we built that massive momentum where they just wanted to be by us. They wanted to be by him. They wanted to be a part of that. And then when they spent money with us, they got to come see the seminar. Oh man, we're shaking them up.
Yeah. That's so cool. So part of what you said about, enrolling your customers and your clients into what you're doing and getting their wives on board and also your own personal story, how critical is it to have the support of your spouse in what you're doing in your business, in your job, in your career, as a man?
I think it's the number one thing. You imagine going home every day and you're giving all this passion and love and energy to strangers. That's how we did it. That's how it was built and why it took off the way that it did. You weren't just a sell to us. And then I go home and I high five my wife. I give her a kiss. We have meaningless sex and I go to bed. How long do you think that would last? I think it's everything. I was fortunate enough to where my wife came on board, and not only did she come on board, she ran all of Andy's events, all the home base events. She ran them all. She was the event coordinator, queen. She dialed everything from food to everything. So now we're working side by side, 24/7, 365. But guess what? Ooh, we forgot about kids because our kids are a little older. We caught ourselves like, dude, we're like not hanging out with the kids a lot. So then we brought the kids on. We had to save that special time for them. We're on fire. I think it's everything. If you cannot build with your spouse in some way or form, like you see the beautiful couple hosting that does all the podcast work, right? That does your editing and everything. They work together. How dynamic is that? Yeah. If you can figure out how to make that happen, because my wife and I, since then, we do everything together in business. It's kept us 100% just locked into one another. And when we start varying or we start drifting a bit, we catch it immediately because it's hard doing what we do and then maintaining that special time for your wife if she's not a part of the build. And a part of the build, sometimes you can even start maybe taking advantage of her. But either way, you have to have your king or queen, whatever that looks like for you and your dynamic of a relationship. You have to have them a part of the build, or they drift. They cheat. I believe I work with a lot of men now privately. I think 99% of women, they cheat when they feel alone, or they don't feel like you appreciate them for what they do within the house and who they have become as a woman. That pushes women to cheat. The 1% of women that are just completely ridiculous, wild, and neurotic and just cheat to cheat, that's only 1% of women, I believe, from my experience of coaching men. And so it's very hard for women to cheat, but they will if they don't feel appreciated and they don't feel like you were paying attention to them. You'll push your woman away. So it's imperative that you have them part of your journey. Yeah, for sure.
I couldn't agree more. My wife, Natalie, works in the business with me. It's a partner in personalbrand.com, and we get to build our empire together. I always say life is a two-person sport, and it works best when you're on the same team and you're building the same mission and you are aligned with values and impact and fulfillment. And it has its own challenges, but life is so fulfilling and so meaningful when your spouse is fully on board and fully supportive. I've experienced both of having a spouse that was not very supportive. Transparently, Natalie's my second marriage. We have the most epic love story another time, but
I love that you said that though. Yeah. You have an epic love story.
Yes.
How many people do you think right now maybe never had an epic love story, but are going through the thick of it that cannot say that?
Yeah.
I mean, divorce rate's at an all-time high. What men think of themselves is at an all-time low, because you can see by the suicide rate, that's not epic at all.
Right.
And it's very key to having that epic love story to have the energy, the synergy of life for other people. If you don't have it at home, it's only a matter of time before that facade will wear off and you can't continue producing at a very high level. I don't believe a man can truly meet his full potential if he has a woman at home that's not willing to level up with him.
I agree.
The energy's not there.
Yeah. It takes so much time, energy, and effort out there battling the world, and your home needs to be a place of reprieve and peace. You can't be battling, your home can't be a battlefield. You can't be fighting a battle on two fronts, at least not sustainably long term. So I'm interested too of any touch points. I mean, you just hit it on the nose of there's a lot of people out there, their relationship isn't where they want it to be. It's dysfunctional at best, maybe on its last string at worst. What words of wisdom do you have for people out there when it comes to like rebuilding trust in their relationship and their marriage? How do you navigate those things? How do you get your partner on board? Maybe you actually do have a good relationship. It's just good, but it's not great. And you're out there building your business and your spouse, you can just, maybe they don't even say anything, but you can just kind of tell you don't have their full support. They're not really rallying behind what you're doing. So first, how do you build trust? And two, how did you get your wife back on board for the mission and the purpose of what you're building?
Dude, that's such a good one, man. I asked this question, and I've said this before. I asked the question, the hardest question I've ever asked my wife. And I'll go into it, but this question set me up because I thought I was having success in my marriage. But I asked her, I said, "Am I your dream man?" And her response was pretty quick. She goes, "I don't dream of men, but if I were to, it's not you." That's what she said to me.
Wow.
And it drove me nuts. This is after I quit drinking. This is after I put in systems in play to build this marriage. And so when I asked her that, and I wouldn't be considered her dream man, that's probably means I'm not her fantasy. I got a problem with that, because before, our sex was sex. It was not making love. We weren't powerful. We weren't strong lovers. I thought we were strong lovers. She goes, "No, we are. But ultimate dream man doing the things like that holds a lot of weight. That's a massive question for you to be asking." Okay, so when you think about that then, and you think about a passionate relationship that's not just having sex, you're having sex, you're making love, you're doing the crazy things that you want to do, you're getting all the desires out, she is your everything in the bed and on the streets. What does that even look like for most men? They don't know because they haven't had the conversation. What they do is they go pay for it, or they go into OnlyFans and they dopamine dump on that shit instead of having the real man conversation. Because if it's not happening, it's your leadership in your house. You are not a dominant leader for your wife to look up to. And I do believe men and women, we are equal. We are not the same. That's how I run my household.
Yep.
I never had the hard conversation with my wife about what she wanted in bed, what she wanted with toys, whatever it is. How deep you want to go with this, brother, I'll open up to you. But I'm telling you this, men don't have that conversation. They don't. They think sex twice a week where she has no orgasm is an awesome marriage for this lifestyle we have and the hours we put in. How many, because I start this out with my coaching. I was like, how many times do you have sex a week? A lot of men say 1 to 2 times a week. How many times does your wife have an orgasm? I don't know. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. And so it is imperative that marriage, your sanctity, that your everything that she brings to my home for me, she has to be on her game as much as I have to be on mine. That's my leadership role, to ensure that she is receiving that from me. And that's what changed when I became my wife's fantasy, the man she dreamed of. It had to do with what was happening in the bedroom and what was happening in her garden. Being serious, moving some damn dirt around, paying attention here and there, because I didn't give a shit about that. That little thing, man, changed everything for us. Not only building companies, I'm in the garden, all these little things. Men think they don't have time for that. I disagree. And that will bring it whole. And that's what I was trying to be for her, because I didn't know how to love her for the longest time. I loved her, didn't know how to love her in a way she received it. Wow. She'd given me so much, man. And being together so long, I don't think with the vulnerability, the way I'm able to be so vulnerable with her, you know what type of deep work she's had to do to be able to receive or take that on? I don't think a lot of men ever get there. To be massively vulnerable with your woman. Most men, oh, your wife doesn't want to see that shit. That makes you weak. No, dude, I have a powerful woman that can help me through that phase that I need. And she can help me with that vulnerability. She's seen it because she's done the deep work as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a connection, bro, I don't have the words for. There's an energy, there's a connection, there's a spark, there's this desire to want to be around to one another. And 28 years later, to finally have it's amazing. Because there were a lot of years, bro, we slept in the same bed miles apart. Miles apart. So,
dang. Yeah.
You know,
how do you ensure that even when you're aligned, you're on purpose, you're on mission, you have the support of your spouse, how do you ensure that you continue to have a great marriage and a great relationship? What are some of those structures that you've put in place to ensure that you don't get too myopic on business?
That's it. You just said it. I'm all business, right? She's not. She's in the business. That's not, I mean, if I were to say, hey, baby, if you didn't want to do work for the next couple of weeks, she'd be like, cool. You know, she doesn't have to, but she's in it. She's in it because she can help these women with the men that I work with. And she does a lot of other things with like onboarding and things like that, right? That's mine. It's my baby. But the check-ins with her are consistent. People say you have to have date night. You have to have date night. I believe in that at a high level. And then date night could just be the littlest of things when we just go on a drive and we go tour the houses we want for the land we want to build, little things like that. And we just be able to talk. But I have to have my check-ins with her regularly. There would be times where we'd be on fire and then I'd be disappeared in the stress and the madness of it all for a week. And I got really good at keeping it aligned to where that doesn't happen, to where I don't disappear into my head or disappear into the business for a week at a time and then pull myself out and go, oh, sorry, I disappeared for a bit. I really eliminated that. So check-ins are a must all the time. Talking in the morning, I read to her at night, 3 nights a week. People think that's weird. But when you're reading to your woman and you're looking, making eye contact, right? At night in bed while you're reading and I read to her and then sometimes she'll read back to me. It's just a weird, cool connection, man. So the little things is what my wife wants. And she wants me to be the man for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's important too. I mean, everyone's relationship is so different. And what I'm hearing from your conversation is one, having the guts just to have the critical conversations that you need to have, like knowing what your wife needs. You know, like I know a book that had an early impact in my life was like the 5 love languages, and realizing that certain people want to receive love, but then try to give love. And like sometimes it's usually the same. People give love the way they want to receive it, but sometimes it's not. And so, you know, is that the end all be all? I don't know. Just, you know, there's a lot of nuance to things, but just having the continual conversation of our needs being met, asking the question, how can I show up better? You know, it looks a little bit different for everyone's dynamic, but just having the open conversation and being willing to do the things where, you know, the quality time, the small things, the garden, the reading, instead of doom scrolling on social media, like all of these things. Yeah,
get that shit out of your life.
Yeah. It's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do, right? Yeah. It's like, I mean, I'm assuming you're not reading for hours. It's probably 15, 20 minutes, right?
Max,
but yeah. So again, it's something anybody could do, and but most people don't.
We don't take the time because we get into that pattern. We really fall into the pattern of maybe what we hear another relationship is like. Being romantic for me is challenging. And I couldn't give you a reason why, but I think some men have it, some men don't. So, it's not challenging anymore, but I really focus on being romantic, buying her nice lingerie, doing those little things. Don't buy flowers, not a flower girl. She doesn't want to receive flowers. She wants something a little bit more thought out than a flower, for sure. But when I buy her lingerie, and it's never like necklaces, jewelry, things like that, not a big deal. Like the lingerie, or I make something for her with the kids in a frame, little things like that, she goes nuts over. Like, so knowing that desired want. And then we have a real talk on what we want our life to look like. We talked earlier about $100 million company. Why is the number $100 million? That's not even realistic for 0.01% of the population. That is realistic for. Why is it 100 million? How about we just work on getting you to $100,000 a month, right? Like you said, with the podcast. Yeah. Me and my wife know the lifestyle we want, the money we need to receive for the retirement and the things that we want. Let's say barring 25% disaster, right? You have to have these calculations.
Yep.
We know we do not want to travel the country month after month after month to seminars and being on stages and being in the limelight 24. We know we don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We know if we don't do that, we can't get to that certain level of income. Cool. We're good with that. We've accepted that because that's not what we want. We'll find another way. But then I also know exactly how much time I'm going to give to this. I know exactly how much time I'm going to give to my children because I still got 2 at home, even though they're older, and what time I need for my wife by still making 7 figures a year. I know what that looks like, and I know the sacrifice. You do not have to be hustle culture, grind till you die bullshit. That's not real. You are subconsciously messed up in your programming to think that that's how it has to be. It doesn't. And I've proven it. But you have to be open to the possibilities that there might just be another way than getting up at 4 a.m. and going to bed at 11 and grind till you die to hit your 100 million. You have to be open that there is possibly another way. And once you start being open to that possibility, you'll see it. Are you going to have to put in hard work? Yes. Are you going to have to lose? Yes. Are you going to get your, yes, it's all coming. But there's another way than just to grind and be angry, and I think that Tony Robbins interview with Alex Ramosi, that was very interesting because I always thought Alex was incorrect in thinking that you had to be miserable during the grind. I've never been miserable. I've been scared. I don't know how this is going to work, bro. But I stayed positive. I prayed. Mm-hmm. I kept my energy right, and it came to me. Mm-hmm. But just to be miserable while you go get that goal, I don't agree with that, man. I think that you're not looking at life the right way, through the right lens, at least.
Yeah. 3 things I want to touch on before we wrap up. 1, the dark side of building an 8-figure business, the thing that most people might not be aware of. 2, you mentioned getting your body right and running playing a critical role. So I'm curious as to what that's done for you. And then 3, you're talking about prayer and want to just touch on faith and how that's played a role in your success and your career and this next evolution of what you're doing with men's work. So what is the dark side of building an 8-figure business?
The lonely part that people talk about. I don't know if they understand what exactly that exactly means. It is a little lonely when you're starting to go down that path and you want to build that. The lonely part is the amount of people that you let in that you can't let in because they're not there for anything more than themselves. They're not there for anything more than your audience. They're not there for anything more than what they can do for themselves, take from you, and they're gone. That was very hard to experience because I didn't experience that in the car business at the level I did building these other, 2 companies before doing what I do now. That is lonely when you think you're building a solid relationship, and I'm too damn stupid to realize, okay, it happened 9 times, Shawn. Pay attention to who you're letting in. And I had a pretty good guard up, but that kind of got lonely, man, because I realized I have what I need. If it's just me and my wife and my 2 other buddies right now that are the ride and die, while I figure this out, the right people will come into my life. But man, was I a fool. And that's the dark side to me because that is a play on someone's emotions. You're playing with their business and you're doing nothing more than trying to get an upper hand for yourself to then just walk away. That's a dark side to me.
Yeah.
That was very interesting to go through that a couple times.
Yep.
And so you just got to become guarded and you get really good at reading people for what they want. And you just get smarter on the choices on how you do business and who you let in. Because you get in, one thing. Getting in, like coming to my house, that's a whole nother process.
Yep,
so,
for sure. Running has been a critical piece of my life. So that was a touch point that came up earlier in the conversation. What was it about getting your body right and running 5 miles a day and 10 miles on the weekend? What did that do for you? What did that unlock for you on the business front?
That's such a great question. That was the first time I was making myself do something that I did not want to do, absolutely did not want to complete that 5th mile or that 10 mile. And willed and pushed myself through the shin splint, the pain, the just like agony, the body shutting down and pushing myself through it at the age I was. I hadn't done that since wrestling at that level. Yeah, you push yourself through till you get to the next side and then you kind of back it down and you build this comfort zone around making 250 grand. But running was pushing me to an extreme that I do not remember doing since wrestling. The weight cuts, the championship matches, running was so peaceful and dreadful. I used to torture myself. I used to put the earphones in and carry my phone and not allow myself to listen to music. And your thoughts start going, man. And your thoughts start going. And you don't know if you have a calling and a download from God or if it's an attack on the next end. And the way the thoughts come in and process, and then all of a sudden the idea kicks in. That's the one you stick with. It's such a magical experience being on a 5-mile run and 3 miles in and your body's shutting down. And all of a sudden you hear this voice that says, hey, you got this. And while you got this, here's an idea for work. And you're just like, where did that come from? It's an experience, man. Running in the heat and just, I have nothing left. And you do it. And then you get a download and you get a business idea. It's the most spiritual thing backed by faith that I've ever done. I continue to run. I don't run as much anymore, but I do run every day or every weekend and probably once every other week. But it was every day for probably, I think 231 days straight. I didn't miss a run. That's how addicted I became to it. Because remember, I'm coming off an addiction. I'm coming off of drinking and drugs, and that became my new addiction, my new source. And I hit 231 or 41 days straight.
Wow.
5 miles.
That's insane.
Not 10 mile every Sunday,
right?
But 5 days a week, 5 miles, 200 and something days of those weeks.
Yeah. I can relate on so many levels.
Yeah.
Running is my time with God. It's the time I get downloads, especially during my dark season of my life. I ran without music. All of your thoughts come up, all of your limiting beliefs, your voice telling you to stop, you're tired, you're out of breath, and you just keep going and you realize how much more juice you have left in the tank.
There's nothing more powerful than being 3 miles in or however many miles in and you're hurting, you're starting to lock up and you finish. I can't explain what that means to me, probably what it meant for you. I certainly can't explain what it means to your audience of what kind of power that gives you when you pull through a run like that, when you were literally shutting down, where you reach for a little salt snack that you have, you eat it, and within a minute and a half, you get a little bit of the locking up to unloosen, and you get that last 2 miles done. Because I've been on runs where I couldn't finish. I was 16 miles in on a 118-degree day, and I had to call my wife and pinpoint and said, you got to come get me. I literally couldn't move.
Wow. I
pushed myself to the very limit in a 118-degree day. I know what it's like to run to failure. I could not run. I was locked, dude. Dang. And scared at the same time. So when you push through that stuff, yeah, bro, it was awful. It was like, what am I? My wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm going to the next level. I'm finding myself. And so, yeah, there's nothing like it. Running is something different. It's monstrous. Yeah. It's powerful.
So also you mentioned prayer, you mentioned, downloads from God on your runs. How has faith played a role aside from obviously the runs and getting the downloads? How does faith play a role, especially in this new chapter of your life, leading deep into men's work with your, with what you're doing, with your men's movement? Talk about that a little bit, how faith played a critical role, in this evolution and what you're doing next in the men's movement you're creating.
Faith is tricky. I had to give to something. I had to submit to something. I don't have.
Why do you have to submit to something?
Because I do believe that a man can't do it alone. And at that season now, I'm coming out of the Elliott run for 5 years. I was there 5 years and a couple months. I go have another tremendous run. Right after that, just crush it for another, year and a half. And my health
was with Jeremy Minor specifically, right? Yeah. Awesome. So
and my health was, I got a blood clot above my heart.
Oh, dang.
And I didn't know where it came from. I'm hurting and I believe in God. I have faith. I'm going to church. I'm believing, but I'm not obeying. I'm not obedient to his word. And you have to have something when you have absolutely nothing, or you don't really have anybody that's on the level that you're at to help you push through this period of time as you're evolving again, right? And finally, I just 100% submitted to the word, getting up in the morning and reading scripture, understanding what that scripture meant. I've heard men say, I talk to God. How? I've never been able to. I've never heard the voices. He's never come to me. And I'm a good man. I live with honor. I've worked on lying. I've done all these things. What is he saying to you? I'm curious because I'd like to hear it. I started doing these things, and all of a sudden, I started hearing voices. I started hearing the divine, I think. And so it's very important that you submit to something, and it better be God or his power, or it could be to evil. We see that in the world at a high level right now.
Mm-hmm.
They've submitted to that.
Yep.
That's submission. Doesn't mean you're weak. It's what you believe in. And so now that I'm not around all this massive amount of energy, these high-powered guys, you find yourself in a place where you're building by yourself. You got a couple guys that you lean on, and having that submission and faith in God and surrendering to him. That was when I became more powerful and confident and certain in who I was as I'm mapping this out with health, my men's movement, and things like that. So it's everything if you understand, if you go deep into it. But it's hard to, because you have to believe. Faith is there. You have to have the faith that it is real for you, even though there's no signs for a while, or you might not hear from them. There is faith. I know no matter what goes on in this world, I believe now, for the first time, I believe in my faith that when he comes, I'm good. That's hard to do. I don't care what anybody says. That's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Have that faith, right?
Yeah.
And that's the faith that I acquired a year and a half ago. Yeah.
So awesome. So amazing. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with your men's movement for maybe a male entrepreneur out there that deeply resonates with your story. Just, spend a couple minutes talking about what you're doing, how people can get involved, and how people can follow along your journey online.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate you. I love working with married men. It's, actually, I haven't taken on somebody that had been single in some time, but working with married men, they have the most to lose. And the married man that reaches out to me and says, Shawn, I don't know what the hell, man, but I'm ready. You can never push somebody or force someone to make the move that's not forced until it's forced upon them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to force change. That's not going to happen. Most men have to hit rock bottom from what I've experienced, just in the experience that I've had, the men I work with. So working with married men that want the marriage to work, want the passion, that's the first thing we work on. Business comes next. You have to get your alignment with yourself in God. You have to have the faith. Then you have to work on your marriage, and then the business will come. It's very important to me because I see what's happening to men. I see men being weaker than ever. I see men doing things like this makeup trend that's going on. I see men doing things that I just can't align with as a 30 to 50-year-old man. I see the way they're
There's a makeup
acting.
trend going on. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
I was talking with Brady about it yesterday
crazy.
in jail. I was like, dude, what's that called again? Looks maxing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. It's for men.
Yeah.
And they're doing things to their bodies that are destroying them internally. That is not the standard of man that God had put on this earth to take over and dominate under his will and word. That's just not, I don't believe that. You can't, it's not evolution. So I see the pain men have in their eyes. I see the doubt and insecurity they have as married men, not being able to provide for their wives. I see the uncertainty with AI. God gave us free will. Then a cell phone came along, and now AI, and we have massive confusion in the marketplace in a time that I am so set on my identity and evolving that I love helping them, and so I have my Instagram, it's Mindset Monster, and we go to work on the mind. It's everything. It is everything, because we are not in his likeness. We are created through him. This is not it. What we're seeing and what I'm seeing, it's not it.
Yep.
And so when I talk to men, I take on probably right now 2 clients a week is what it works out to. It's not a massive thing that I'm doing yet. I'm getting there. We have the community that they all go into, but they all struggle from the same things. I have a very unique client that comes in. They're me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, but they're aware this is not what I want to continue to do. Mm-hmm. This is not who I want to be. I had a vision of what I was supposed to be. I had a vision of the man I was supposed to be out of high school, out of college. I had a vision of what my 25-year-old self was. And I knew I was going to do this at 35, and I'm nowhere close. I've imploded. That man comes into me, and we receive, like I say, we receive each other. We go into war together, and we rebuild.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that work's deeply needed. Man, you never quote a quote on the fly on a podcast, but just the quote comes to mind of just strong men create easy times create weak men create hard times, and we're definitely in that period where weak men are creating hard times, and we need strong men again. So I deeply respect the work you're doing in the world. Deeply respect your story, your journey, how you've gotten here, how you lean on faith, how you've built something meaningful, how your work continues to live on through the people that you've played a critical role in elevating and creating a massive growth for. And I'm so excited for this next chapter of you stepping out on your own and doing deep, meaningful work in a way that the world needs more than ever. So
I appreciate it.
Shawn Pollard, thanks so much for being on the Six Fig podcast. It's a pleasure having you here. And for those of you tuning in, if you like this episode, drop some comment down below, show us some love, subscribe to this channel. If you like these conversations and want to hear more conversations just like this, share it with a friend who needs to hear this message, and we'll see you on the next episode.